La Romana, the capital of the Dominican Republic, is where this cruise through the Caribbean begins. At the cruise terminal at the mouth of the Rio Dulce, into the Caribbean Sea. An extraordinary experience on board one of the luxury cruise ships. Travelling from island to island and exploring the islands during the day. These ships have every comfort on board, from spacious fitness areas to a range of culinary delights and entertainment. So, island hopping is even more fun. The island of Antigua, with its capital St. John's, is the largest of the islands under the wind, Windward Islands, which form the northern end of the Lesser Antilles. The Anglican cathedral is enthroned on the hill, surrounded by an impressive cemetery. The old courthouse has been turned into a historical museum, with exhibitions about indigenous people, slaves, and the sugar business. The island tours start at the Heritage Quay. The former guardhouse provides a comfortable view over the Nelson Bay. The hill is directly above the bay. Nelson's Dockyard served the British as the most important Caribbean naval base in the 18th century. This period is documented in the museum. And at the northernmost point is the Devil's Bridge, a natural stone arch of rugged limestone rock. But onwards by ship to Guadeloupe. Every cruise ship is a world of its own. Here, it can be said, a dream ship in the Caribbean. The Caribbean is located in the tropical part of the Atlantic Ocean, north of the equator. And the islands are arranged in an arc within the Caribbean Sea. Our ship swiftly glides along in calm seas, and now the onboard amenities are being explored. The island Guadeloupe is a Caribbean paradise, where the French successfully mixed with the Creoles. The name of the capital of the island goes back to a Dutch fisherman named Peter, who settled here in 1654. Time and again, earthquakes, fires, and hurricanes hit the city. The former governor looks sternly upon the central Place de la Victoire, where colourfully dressed market women sell their fruit. The island excursion leads first to Basse-Terre, the southern part of the dual island, right into the rainforest. Afterwards, we visit the village of Morne-à-l'Eau on Grande Terre, with its famous cemetery. On to the beach of Le Moule. Hurricanes destroyed the city, but the beach remained as ever. The viewpoint Pointe des Châteaux is the most eastern point of the island. And there's still time for a refreshing ice cream. Until finally, after a short continuation of the journey, the visit of the market St. Anne signals the end of the tour. Back in the harbour, the ship waits for the onward journey into the sunset. The dusk in the Caribbean Sea, with all its cloud formations, is always a special experience. And at the last sunlight, the decks are empty, with the hungry passengers already in the restaurants. A beautiful day is coming to a contemplative end. We have reached the flower island, Martinique. The island capital, Fort-de-France, welcomes the arriving ships. Next to the park La Savane is the Shoelka Library, along with government and governor, as well as the city palaces of the sugar barons. The cathedral was built upon an iron construction, and the streets have French names. The fortress, Fort Saint-Louis, was built in 1639 by the French under the rule of Louis XIII. With massive walls and bastions. The island tour leads to the south, to the village Les Toisillettes. In 1763, the later French Empress Josephine was born on the plantation La Pagerie. Slave ships brought thousands of black Africans to work in the sugarcane fields. Suddenly, a huge boulder juts out of the sea. And at the end of the tour, we visit a rum distillery with a chance to taste. But back to our ship. It's already dark, and a small pilot ship is leading us out of the harbour. When illuminated, Fort-de-France looks impressive also from far away. And other giant cruise ships look like high-rise buildings in the harbour. Another night drive follows, and all early risers are rewarded by dramatic cloud formations in the early morning. Slowly, our ship approaches the next island, which first appears small on the horizon, but ever more reveals the lush rainforest. While the ship awakes, we carefully enter the still sleeping small harbour with our floating hotel. The mooring manoeuvre next to other ships has been successful, and after breakfast we can go ashore in the sudden bright sunshine. Kingstown, the capital of the island St. Vincent, is reached, one of the Windward Islands. Bay Street on the coast often turns into a lively open-air market, and the fish market, Little Tokyo, is right next to the Bay of Fishermen. The Anglican Cathedral with a steeple with battlements is one of the 3 churches in Greenville Street. In sight next door is the Catholic Church St. Mary, and opposite the Church of the Methodists. On the hill above the city is the oldest botanical garden in the Caribbean, to research and breed tropical, useful and medicinal plants. The island tour offers great scenery, with a black lava beach and the infamous Black Point on the coast. Here the ships landed with slaves who were driven through the tunnel, sold and shipped. The journey continues into a wonderful sunset, which romantically accompanies the dinner in the outdoor restaurants. When a day at sea follows, Passengers also enjoy the warmth of the Caribbean at the pools on deck. Clouds gather early in the morning, especially near islands. And so on to the next island, the second largest of the Windward Islands, where a small airport welcomes. Only a few more turns at the entrance to the small natural harbour are needed. The weather has taken the almost usual and expected course. The morning clouds have dispersed and bright sunshine awaits us on the island. St. Lucia, with the capital Castries. The Nobel Prize winner Derek Walcott welcomes you to the square in front of the cathedral. Old and new houses in West Indian style frame the centre of the city, which was first founded by the French. The Catholic Cathedral is the most important building, with wooden columns and colourful Caribbean wall and ceiling paintings, with colourful motifs and Bible scenes depicted by black people. The market presents a Caribbean atmosphere, with colourfully decorated stalls offering souvenirs, clothes, spices and herbs. The Trinity Church crowns a hill beyond the harbour, and the King George Garden, which is below, provides a lonely but peaceful refuge. On the panoramic mountain Morne Fortune, you find the country house St. Mark's, one of the historical monuments. Besides the opulence, the strategic location is also noticeable. The view of the port and city. Back on board, the Water World invites you with outdoor pools and an indoor water slide for young and old, which are located in the upper part of the ship. After an exhaustive visit to the island, the chance to relax on board with all of the amenities is an appreciable part of the travel package. Our ship is still lying in the harbour basin, but slowly dusk descends and we leave both port and island. During the night, we gradually sail through the St. Vincent Passage, and early in the morning, a harbour is already visible as the ship still sleeps. For the time being, the real early risers see the shadows of the many cranes of the industrial harbour. As almost every morning, the clouds soon dissolve in the early heat, and again a small island paradise of the Caribbean awaits us. Barbados, the often sung Island of Dreams with European flair, the Little England of the Caribbean. Over 40% of the population live in the cosmopolitan island capital, Bridgetown. Since its foundation, the city has grown rapidly, and often without planning, along the Constitution River. The widened estuary of the river forms the old port of Corinage. And north of the Chamberlain Bridge, which spans the harbour basin, lies Trafalgar Square, which hosts the most important buildings of the city. In the north of the city lies the pink and white historic synagogue district, with the cemetery of the Spanish and Portuguese settlers and the old ritual bathhouse Mikvah. and the oldest house of prayer in the New World. Since the 18th century, Broad Street has been the most important shopping street of the city. And the Anglican St. Michael's Cathedral, which was already inaugurated in 1665. Beyond the Chamberlain Bridge, the way leads outwards to Barbados Garrison, the old British West India regimental quarters for soldiers, which later became a prison and now serves as a museum. The island can be easily explored by bus. In a mahogany tree forest lie the ruins of the old plantation Farley Hill. And from the lookout point, you can view over the Atlantic coast. Here the rulers spent their leisure time with a cooling breeze. The bus ride continues along the palm-lined East Coast Road, on towards the oldest house on the island. Soon the coast will be wild and picturesque, with bizarre and impressive rocks. We're visiting St. John's Parish Church. And then the Sunbury Plantation, a more than 300-year-old museum house that documents the history of the time of the sugarcane plantations. Nowhere are the tropics more beautiful. Barbados is a dream destination in the Caribbean, a sunny island full of music and the joy of life. We enjoy the sunset again on board and sail full of anticipation into the night to reach the next island the next morning. At the first rays of sunshine, the harbour of the southernmost of the Windward Islands is still in shadow in front of us. Grenada, with the capital St. George's, where the scent of exotic spices bewitches our senses. The steep Granby Street leads up to the Roman Catholic Cathedral. Fort George is strategically located at the top of a headland that separates the outer seaport from the carenage. In the inner harbour, the National Museum is located in one of the old warehouses. Fishing boats, cargo ships, and small cruise liners anchor in the inner harbour bay. And the statue of Christ reminds us of a rescue at sea. In the middle of the rainforest of the national park lies the crater Grand Etang, with the mysterious Blue Crater Lake. We also visit a cocoa plantation, where all stages of production are impressively explained. And also the former headquarters of the Western Hall Rum Distillery, where it's disclosed that to this day hardly anything has changed. But a ship is already waiting to take us to the next island. A relaxed day at sea follows, as our ship wants to reach the so-called ABC Islands. Again, time for any kind of fitness, rest, or exploring the modern hotel ship. In the port of the capital Kralendik, we are welcomed by the small Fort Orange. Bonaire is a dreamy, unspoiled island which is the least developed for tourism. In the Terramar Museum, you can learn about the Native Americans and slavery. Calle Grande is the main street, with colourful houses and shops. The island tour leads to the Karst Caves, where once the Arawak Indians lived. From the hill, we overlook the settlement area of the first Spaniards, and we visit what was supposedly the first landing place of those adventurous conquerors. Rock paintings depicting the ritual life of these people are preserved on overhanging cliffs. And from the Cerro Largo monument, you can see the huge white salt pyramids. Then the bus takes us back to the harbour and our ship. The captain sails along the shore as if to point out that oil and salt feed the islanders today. Curacao, with its capital Willemstad, is the largest of the ABC islands. Much here is reminiscent of Holland. That's what the colonials brought in. A floating pontoon bridge connects the districts, and renovated houses lead into the historic old town. The water fort and the Wilhelmina Park form one end of the old town. And the busy Columbus Strat provides a different demarcation. The Sea Aquarium Park was created just outside the city. A unique water zoo with the submarine world of the Caribbean. And a sensational dolphin show thrills visitors young and old. Back in the city, Dutch bridges, colourful houses, and the romantic floating market welcome you. The Handelsgade, with all the cafes and restaurants along the canal, leads to the famous Penha trading house. And Fort Amsterdam, the former headquarters of the West Indian Company, documents the changing history. Again, our ship sails into a glowing evening. We're very close to Venezuela, and the Caribbean sun knows how to present itself. So once again, we enjoy the life on board. Everyone will soon miss this laid-back idleness. But once again, an interesting visit to an island is imminent. Aruba, with its capital Oranjestad. Colourful colonial buildings remind us of Holland, and a ride on the open tram helps you experience the Caribbean feeling even more profoundly. The old Fort Zoutman is a humble fortress of stone and clay. The Wilhelmina Park is located on the coast and leads to the lagoon with the yacht and fishing harbour. Tourism is not to be ignored. After a short drive, we reach the huge rock formation Casibari, where there are historical graves of the first settlers. The island tour then leads to a natural bridge, washed out of the lava rock over millions of years. The atmosphere is laid back as we continue to the ruins of the disused gold mine of Bushiribana. It is followed by the California Lighthouse at the northern tip of the island. And then the west side with a sandy beach. Here the Caribbean feeling becomes reality. An extraordinary journey ends, and it's hard to say goodbye. Each island surprises with a different flair, and the port cities quickly reveal which colonial powers ruled here. You may just get used to island hopping and really enjoy a variety of different experiences of a cruise through the Caribbean.